Okay, thank you everybody just for your patience there. So first of all, welcome to tonight's webinar on managing members. My name is Megan and I'm one of the members of the Foireann success team. Thank you first of all for giving up your evening. I know most of you are volunteers, so I really do appreciate you spending your Tuesday evening with me. Just a few bits of housekeeping before we begin. So currently everybody's mics are muted. The session will be recorded, so anybody who signed up or registered with the webinar tonight will be sent a recording tomorrow, and it will also be uploaded to our help centre. And also the chat will be open. I will try my best to keep an eye on the chat as we go through tonight's webinar, but I will also do any Q&A at the end. So even though your mics are muted, if we have time at the end, I will let you unmute your mics. Or if you want to pop in your questions into the chat as we go, please do so. I'll either try and answer them as I go along, or I will do an answer session at the end. So first thing we're going to do is just see what's going to be covered tonight. So this is all about managing your members on Foireann. So this is going to be navigating your member table, how to view and edit your members, how to edit and reset your members' login details, how to add members, invite members, verify members, remove members, hibernate members, export members' details, and the admin management of families, as well as assigning and removing admin access. So everything is just going to be in regards to your members and how we can make sure that Foireann is set up for your club with the best member data you could possibly have. So I'm just going to move here to my Foireann screen. Hopefully you can see that okay. Nope. Let me reshare here 2 seconds. Oh, sorry, it just took a second to load. Give me 1 second here. Okay, hopefully that's us back. So I'm just going to dive right in. One of the things I'll say is this is our test system. Therefore, everything you see is fake information, so not real members, not a real club, and not real data. So please bear that in mind. You may also see some functions in here that are not yet available to yourselves. So that's just because we use this to develop new features on Foireann. So if you see anything that you maybe don't have, it may be because it hasn't been released yet. So first thing is I am an admin of my club Foireann Gaels, and we're going to spend the majority of tonight's webinar here in the membership section. So within the membership section, you're going to have your members list, and I have cleared down my member list just for visibility purposes of tonight's webinar. Many of you will have more than 8 members in your club, or hopefully you will. So first of all, this is your members table. Anybody that has your club listed in their profile will appear here. That may not necessarily mean that everybody listed here is a member. So for example, you may have parents or guardians who aren't actually members of your club, but their children may be. So you will have a list of everybody who has your club listed in their profile. One of the first things I'm going to talk about is just this table. As you'll see, there's quite a lot of information and icons. So this table will show you basically your members' names. It will give you their date of birth, their contact details. But over here to the right-hand side, you will see a certain number of icons, and each icon represents something within their profile. And it's just basically that you could see at a glance, maybe something to do with their communications or their contact preferences. So first one here is, as you hover over, you will be able to see a description of each. So first one is a computer phone icon. And this essentially means if a member has a login to Foireann. So as you would expect, most of your members may have a username and password to get into Foireann. Or if, for example, you've previously just registered your members manually in the past, They may just have a record on Foireann. So the way I kind of explain it is everybody within your club will have a record on Foireann, and that means they basically have a profile, basically a row in this table, but not everybody has an account. An account essentially means that they can log into Foireann, access their record, edit their details, and they can basically self-serve on Foireann. So the red X here indicates that this person, so for example, Sinead Doyle, doesn't have a username or password to log into the system. Therefore, she cannot access her record at all. She would have to go through, say, for example, her admin, or potentially, if it's a child record, go through the parent to get any details updated. Anybody with a green tick basically means they have a login. So they have logged into the system at least once. They have their own username and password. I'll talk a bit more later about how to invite people to log in, but this row indicates whether they have a login or not. The next two here is in terms of your communications consent, so your club communications and your additional club communications. So this is just basically to indicate to you as an admin which of your members have opted in to receive certain communications. Club communications is basically your everyday running of the club, so something to do with membership, something to do with renewals, maybe something to do with AGM, important meetings or important information that needs to go out to your members. Your additional club communications is more around the likes of your social events, your club fundraising, any sort of merchandise or non-membership related messages. Just note down here, so for the likes of Emma here, you've got question marks, and basically the question marks mean that it hasn't been set. So they have neither hit yes and they've neither hit no. So ideally you don't want to have any question marks where possible. So in that case, I'd be trying to chase up Emma or Emma's parent and saying, look, what's your preferred preferences for comms or photo consent? Your next one here is your camera, which is photo consent. So like you see, everybody here has got a tick, and again, question mark means it's just not set. The next one is your medical information. So within the profile, each member can outline if they have a medical information. So for example, asthma or a nut allergy, something that will indicate. So in this scenario here, I'm going to go into Sinead just so that I can show you what that looks like. So I'm just going to tick these, hit save, and you'll see this wee red briefcase will appear, and that essentially means that they have outlined a medical information in their profile. And then next is your membership. So as the year goes on, you'll start to see your membership details coming through. So that is basically your member list. There is a lot of information, and obviously as you know, for bigger clubs, there's going to be a lot more information there. But in terms of the actual profile itself, so if you click into a member, you have access as an admin to change their details, obviously with their permission. So within here, I've got Sinead Doyle. I'm not going to go through each of the fields here, but as you can see, some are mandatory, some are also optional. So just please fill out wherever you can, anywhere that has a red exclamation mark. Down here is where basically the 4 columns in that members table is populated from. So for example, medical information. So if I hit yes, it will ask you for a few more questions. You'll also have your photo and your communication consent. So for example, yes, yes, no, and that will obviously refer back to the table. Bear in mind as well that some of the communication, so for example, this is not applicable to LGFA, adult players. Anywhere that that rules or sort of official guide queries come in will always be outlined here within Foireann in some shape or form. So any sort of hyperlinks like this will take you off to the relevant system and for obviously any rules. Next down here is your clubs. So obviously every one of your members will have your club listed, but they may also have more than one club. So for example, their child might be a part of a separate hurling club if your club doesn't offer the hurling as a discipline, or they may have the likes of independent teams as well. So what you can do is within here, in the scenario of an independent team, so for example, if your club is maybe merging as a team, so for like an under 17 team for the season, you can go in and add that team to a member's profile, and that means that they will then appear in the team list for selection within the independent team. So what you can do here, obviously, like I said, all these fields can be edited. The email address as well, that's probably one of the things that catches most people out, is it is currently grayed out, but there is a change button underneath. So for example, Sinead has set her email address already, or sorry, the admin has set the email address already, but I can go in there, hit change, and make the relevant changes to Sinead's email. So if I just go ahead and hit save. So as I said, you can go in, click into each member, and obviously update details as you wish. One of the most important things as an admin that you'll probably find useful is when your members are trying to log into Foireann. So what you will find is members logging into Foireann, their usernames may not necessarily be their email addresses, or vice versa. So you might get members coming to you saying, I'm not getting a password reset, or I'm not sure of my login details. Can you help? One of the things that you can do as an admin is if you go in and click on a member who has the green tick under the computer phone icon, if you go in, you will see here under their profile, you'll see a username field, and you'll be able to tell them what their username is. So they can then go in, put that into the forgotten password section. So if I just quickly log out here, if I go to log in, a member can then go in and say, forgot password, enter in my username, hit submit, and an email gets sent. What you'll find is most members will think that their username is their email address. And to be fair, in some cases it may be. In some cases it may not. So most of the time it is not their email and they've maybe set it as something different. But as an admin, you should be able to advise them what their username is. So if I just log in here, oh, sorry, I've just logged into the wrong account. Bear with. I have too many usernames. Here we go. So for this scenario here, say Megan Fitzpatrick, I can go in and see what username she has linked to her Foireann account. I can also see up here at the top when the last time she was logged in. So that is literally just the account I logged into there by accident. So you can see when that person was last logged into Foireann. If it's been a couple of years, then they might need a password reset. But you can also send a password reset to a user from your admin account. So for example, if I click this, that will then send an email to that member's email address that's listed in their profile, and it should indicate for them to create a new password to get access to Foireann. One thing I will note is you can't change people's usernames, but you can change their email. So say, for example, I've contacted the admin and said, oh, I've changed my email address. I'm now at gmail.com. Can you go in and update my email? You can go in and update their email, and basically what it will do is it will send, so if I hit change here, I can go in and change this email. So say, for example, if I change this to 123 Dawson Andrews. So this current password here is not the password of the member. It's the password of the admin logged in. So basically we want to make sure is when you're changing someone's email address that you're obviously changing it correctly, and we're also verifying the change from an admin's perspective. So the email is obviously going to be the members, the new email. The current password is going to be the password of the person that is currently logged in. So for example, the admin that I'm logged in as at the minute. So if I just remember even which one I was logged in as, if I hit confirm, you will see that the email address has then updated and an email will get sent to this new email address for that member to verify. So that is basically your editing of members' details and resetting login details. Unfortunately, you can obviously send the password, you can obviously get their username, but if for whatever reason they're not getting the email, please advise them to check spam and some of their other folders. If none of that is unfortunately working, please get them to contact Foireann support and we can manually reset their passwords for them. The next thing I'm going to do is adding a member. So hopefully most of your members will already be on Foireann. But there's basically two ways that you can add members. So for example, someone new has started in the club. You can go in here into the member actions and add member, and basically you'll be asked to fill out their profile. So it's the exact same fields as what every other member would have. Or what you can do is the member themselves can go in and they can create an account on Foireann. They'll fill in these details. It will send them a login, a verification email for them to log in. They can then fill out the profile themselves and then add your club to their profile. And that means that all of their information has been inputted by themselves. And then if they add your club to their profile, they will then appear in your member list. So you don't really have to do anything from an admin point of view. However, if a member maybe does not want to doesn't want to have access to Foireann, and they kind of want you to set them up. Sorry, bear with me while I log in here again. If they want you to create their profile for them, you can go in here in the member action section and hit add member, and you can fill out their profile. So I'm just going to very quickly fill out this profile. So one of the main things as well is that you ensure the country code is added. So just going to put loads of zeros here. Wicklow. Then I'm just going to say yes. Oh, yes, yes, no. Hit save. And what you will see there is Aoife Smith has now been added as a member to my member list. One of the other things to bear in mind as well is probably what I should have explained in the member table is these little icons here. So beside Stephen here, you've got the blue shield. Beside Megan Fitzpatrick, you have another blue shield, but it's slightly different. It has a bit of a checkered shield going on. Aoife also has now a blue shield. So basically what that means is the blue shields indicate that that member is a verified member. So what we mean is if you go and create an account in Foireann from scratch, so let's say I decided to log into Foireann or create an account on Foireann, fill out my profile and add Foireann Gaels. There's nothing stopping me from adding Foireann Gaels. Therefore, as a club admin, you need to verify. So for example, if you see people in your member list, obviously if they're parents or guardians, that's okay. But if you see maybe someone who you're not sure who they are, or they haven't been verified, or they haven't been proposed and second as a member in your club, then you will keep them as unverified. So anybody with a blue shield is a verified member. And what you can do is using the filters up here in the top right hand corner, you can filter. So for example, there is a new member and a member filter. New member is anybody that is not verified. I don't know why mine's not appearing. I think let me just refresh that. There we go. So a new member is anybody that doesn't have a shield listed in their profile. So as an admin, I would want to go and check to see which members or which individuals are listed in my club who are not listed as a member. And so for example, if I then change this to a member, you will see all of these have been proposed and seconded and are given that shield. And essentially, verifying a member will also mean that once they register, they will be given a membership ID as well. So in the scenario here, if we go for Aoife, I went and created Aoife as an admin. I did the member actions, add member. I filled out her profile. Therefore, she is automatically added as a verified member because an admin has created her. If Aoife was to create her account and her record by self-serve, so she's logged on, she's filled out her profile, added the club, she will not have a blue shield because I don't know who Aoife is. So I have to go in and verify that, oh yes, Aoife came to the club. You know, we've verified that she is going to be a club member for this year. What you'll see is your admins will have a different shield, and that's basically just to try and differentiate for you the difference between an admin and a normal member. An admin is someone who obviously has additional privileges on the system, so they can undertake any tasks within the club that a normal member can't. So what you can do is you can unverify and verify members. So what I'm going to do is just remove this filter. And I'm going to take, let me see, I'm going to take Sinead as an example here. So what I can do is tick the checkbox beside Sinead, go to member actions, verify, and then I get to choose the member type. So for example, I can change her, well, she's currently a new member, but I can have her as a member, club member as per official rules. So I'm going to hit verify. And what you will see is Sinead has now got the blue shield. And what I'll do for Aoife here is I'll just unverify. So it's the exact same steps. However, this time I'm going to hit new member. And there is Aoife. Aoife is now unverified. One of the reasons why you might wish to unverify someone is for the example of, say, Aoife has decided to leave the club, or she's transferred out, or whatever may be the reason that she no longer wants to be in your member list, you no longer want her to be in your member list. And what you can do is if I just verify, let me just see here, if I do this one, just so I can log in to show you. So say, for example, I'm going to verify Megan here. And I'm going to log in. So I'm going to log in as this member. Oh, 2 seconds. Let me see. Just let me verify my email. That's just because I've obviously changed that email. It's now sending me an email to verify. So all right, just bear with me 2 seconds. Okay, if I refresh that now. Okay, perfect. So that is me logged in. So if I go to my profile I am in as a member right now. So if you see this Foireann Gales here in Wicklow, this is my record within the club. So you'll see I've got a member shield here, and I can't do anything with this club. I can't remove it, I can't do anything. So that is because I'm a verified member. If I was to then log in as the admin and unverify Megan, so apologies, it's probably confusing that the admin and this member is both Megan, but if I go in here and move her to a new member, so the blue shield is now removed, and if I go then to log in as that member, go to the profile section, you will see that I can now remove that club from my profile. So one of the things to bear in mind is if this member removes that club from their profile, they will no longer be listed in your member table. And the other thing to bear in mind is if they have an active membership, so even if it is expiring, so say for example you're with the LGFA Camogie, or they have an active membership for this current season, so for example 2024 to 2025, they'll not be able to remove that club until that membership expires or is revoked. So this member didn't have a membership with the club, so when I go to log in now back as the admin, Megan will no longer appear in the member list. So that's just the admin I've logged in, or I'm logged in as at the minute. So if you wish to remove your members from your club, you have to make sure that they're unverified. So going in here, updating that to new member, and as an admin, you can also remove their club from their profile. So that's one way you can do it. The other thing that you can do as well is in terms of hibernating your members. So in the scenario, say if Stephen has stepped away from the club, or you don't basically want to have maybe members that haven't registered for a few years, but you're not sure if they might come back, what you can do is you can go to member actions and you can click this hibernate. And you'll also be able to choose a reason. So for example, stop playing, other, moved away. So for example, I'm going to say moved away and I'm going to say hibernate. And what you will see is Stephen is no longer in this member list, but he is still within the club. So removing the club from a profile basically removes them completely. They're not listed as part of the club. They're not in your member list. Hibernating is they're still listed within your club, but they are hibernated, so they're not listed in the current active member list. So if I use the filter here, and if I go to member status, you can choose between your active and your hibernated members. So I'm going to go hibernated, and you will see Stephen. So hibernated members will only ever appear if you actively search for them. So if you use the hibernated filter. You can then, of course, go in and unhibernate them. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for Stephen. He's no longer in that filtered list. He's back in the main page. So hibernate is probably kind of a soft delete of a record, whereas removing the club from their profile is more of a hard delete. That member will not appear back in your member list unless they actively go and add your club. So you're not able to search for them and obviously add the club back in. So if you are removing the club from a member's profile, please make sure that that is the correct action you want to do, because otherwise their record will not be accessible to you anymore, whereas hibernating it will be. The next thing I'm going to cover is inviting members. So we spoke about it at the beginning about this computer phone icon, this column here. So in the scenario whereby a member, or for example, another one that actually comes in quite a lot into support is say a member has now reached the age of 18 and they want to have their own Foireann profile, sorry, their own Foireann account. So they want the ability to be able to log in, see their own teams, you know, see their own messages, things like that. So what you can do is, in the scenario here, I'm going to say, for example, Sinead has just turned 18. So Sinead was originally linked as part of a family, or for example, she was manually registered by the club for the last couple of years. Sinead now wants to log in herself, have access to her own details, do her own registrations. Instead of Sinead going and creating a brand new account on Foireann to get a username and password, as an admin, you can invite her. So what that means is she will then be able to log in and see this record and have access. So it means that you're not creating any duplicates for that member. So one of the things you need to do in order to invite a member is they need to have an email. They need to have an email address in their profile. If they do not have an email address, then you cannot invite them. So you'll be able to see in the contact details section the email address that's listed within their profile. If they don't have an email address, it'll not be listed. So first thing to do is go in and check the email address and also check to make sure it's obviously correct. If in the scenario of Aoife, you can go in here, hit the change button and add in the email address of the member. And what I'm going to do here is tick the checkbox beside the member's name, go to member actions and go to invite. And basically what this is saying is the selected members will be invited to create a Foireann account. The member will receive an email with login details. So I'm going to click invite. And what you will see is this icon here is updated from a red X to a yellow question mark, orange question mark, maybe a bit of both. What this means is Sinead has been sent that email. The member has the email, but they haven't done anything with it yet. So Sinead has not logged into Foireann with that username and temporary password that got sent to her. So if you find that a number of your members have question marks, you may need to re-invite them to receive a new username and temporary password to log into the system. Once Sinead actually logs in, so I'm just going to quickly in the background here get Sinead logged in. Just so that you can see. So I don't know, can you see my emails here? No, okay, let's see. If I just quickly share just so that you can see from an admin point of view what your members will see. If it would load. So you will see this sort of email. So you've been invited to create a profile by whoever the admin is. Here's your login. So forget about this login page. That's obviously to our UAT system. But they will be given a username and password. So if I go in here and log in with the details provided, I'm then prompted as the member to change my password to something more memorable. And what will happen then is Sinead is directed to her profile where obviously all of her details are pre-filled based on what was currently on the system. But Sinead then can go in and update any of the details that she wishes, as well as any of her consent. So I'm just gonna throw in a few changes here and hit save. Now Sinead has access and is logged into her own account and is able to go in and update all of our details, do any sort of player transfers, any memberships, maybe a betting application as well. If I then log back in as the admin, what you will see here is Sinead now has the green tick. So that indicates that she now has used the login details. She has now gained access to Foireann. And again, if you click in, you'll be able to see when her last login was and see what her username is. So if she ever needs a password reset. I suppose the main thing is in terms of inviting members, you want to obviously have as many members self-serving as possible. You want to make sure that they're uploading the correct, they're keeping their profile up to date or they're doing their own registrations. One of the things to bear in mind is that ideally children or anybody under the age of 18 shouldn't have their own login to Foireann. It should all be connected within a parent guardian account. So what I'm going to do is show you how that works. Now, one of the things I will say is when the Foireann system first came around, it was around COVID, and the main purpose of the system was COVID questionnaires. So there has been a cleanup since, and a lot of volunteers and a lot of club officers have spent time cleaning up and trying to get the families and the accounts set up correctly. You'll never be able to stop duplicates from happening. If someone forgets their username and password and they don't get the response they need or they can't get logged in and they go and create a new account, there's nothing we can do to stop that. It's just a matter of merging them. But in terms of your families, there's now functionality on Foireann that allows admins to manage families on behalf of members. So in the scenario here, what you'll see is we've got the Smith family. So we've got Fergal Smith, and if you click into his profile, if you go to his family section, you will see that he's down as the parent guardian with Emma Smith as the child. However, when you go into the member table, you will actually see that there is currently 2 Emma Smiths with the same date of birth and the same address. There's also an Aoife Smith. So for argument's sake, this is going to be a family. And what I'm going to do is, as an admin, I can help connect and link members of a family together. So first thing I'm going to do is, in the argument of this, Aoife is going to be Fergal's wife. So what I can do is go into his family, click on add family member. I can then choose the position of the family. So for example, parent guardian, and then I can do a club search. So this will only provide you with members in your club. If, for example, Fergal's wife did not have Foireann Gaels on his profile, on her profile, you would not see her as an option. So I'm going to go ahead here and add Aoife. And you will see that she's now linked. And then if I go back here, you will see that she now has the Smith family listed underneath. You can also remove, obviously, members from a family, or you can create a brand new family. So in the argument here of you've got Stephen and Sinead, I'm going to go in, Stephen and Sinead are husband and wife. I'm going to go in, click in Stephen, go to the family section. I can create a brand new family for him. So I'm going to go in here and call it the Doyle family. And then I can go in here and then add Sinead. So I can go in and do that. Sinead and Stephen should now then be successfully linked. The other thing as well you can do in terms of your families. So let me just see if I've got a good example maybe in my other test account. Let's see. Just bear with me. Let me have a look. What you might find is I'll do it for this one here. So if you can see here, you've got Joan Lynch, okay? And Joan has 2 families listed under her record. So if you click into Joan and if you go to the family section, you will see that Joan has a family called the Lynch family. This is Joan as the primary. She does have a parent guardian and she does have a child listed within the family, but because that parent, guardian and child don't have your club in their profile, you cannot see them. So you obviously don't know who they are. Then you have Joan has created another family. So what I tend to find is a lot of things that come into support is, say, for example, if I just remove this for argument's sake, members create their families and they basically put the name of the family as their family member. So for example, if I put Joe Lynch and Peter Lynch, and what you'll find is members think that this means that Joe and Peter are listed in their family. And all that does is just give Joan 3 different families, but doesn't actually have members listed within the family. So if you find when you're looking at your member list and there's a scenario whereby they have created families across the top here in the name of their family members, the best thing that you can do as an admin is take note of who is meant to be in the family and delete all of the families that shouldn't be there and create kind of a brand new one. So forget that Lynch is there for a second. So I'm going to call this Lynch family 2. And what you can do is, in this scenario here, you would go and find Joe. So Joe was put down as the family name. Joe should have actually been added as a child to that family. Likewise, Peter, you know, if it was actually a real scenario. But it's just to bear in mind that a lot of your members may set up families incorrectly. The other thing to bear in mind as well is a lot of your members may have set up their Foireann accounts in their child's name. So each individual obviously has a record on Foireann. However, some parents have created, so for example, in the scenario here, we've got Sinead and Stephen. I know I said previously they're husband and wife, but this is actually a good example of a wrong family setup. So in this example, we've got Sinead. Sinead is actually under the age of 18, but her dad has set up her account. Oh. So that makes her 9. So her dad has set up an account. Sinead has a login, username and password, and obviously when the dad logs into Foireann, the main profile is Sinead. That's not what you want. You want every parent and guardian to be able to log into Foireann. They're listed as the main profile holder and their child is added as a child record. And reason being is what we've found is as people are getting more involved in their club, they've maybe set up their Foireann account incorrectly and now they need to actually register themselves or the parent needs to submit a vetting application, and when they go to log into Foireann, they're trying to submit an application under their daughter or their son's name, or in some scenarios have decided to change the details of the profile to their details, but memberships of the child are linked to the parent. So there could be a lot of confusion in terms of the records. So in this scenario here, what I would be doing is, as an admin, I would be going into Stephen. So Stephen has an account. If he didn't, I'd be going in and adding Stephen as a record. I would be adding his email address. So this is the dad, adding his email address, and then inviting him to Foireann. So he now has a login and password, or username and password, to log into the system. I would then be going and creating a new record for Sinead. So for argument's sake, I'm just going to 10 Beach Walk, if I remember that. I'm going to go in here and add another record for Sinead, and this is going to be the child record. So Sinead, Doyle, nope. Obviously, it doesn't need to be exact right now, as this is just test data, but hit save. So I've now created another record for Sinead, and here is the red X beside her name. What I'm going to do is just quickly add in her date of birth, actually, as well. So all of the information for Sinead is the exact same. She now has 2 accounts. So what I'm going to do is, ideally what you want is, beside the likes of the parent guardian, you want them to have the green tick for a login. You want the child to have a red X. Obviously, yous are all volunteers. You may not have the time to clean up these records, but if you ever do decide to go through that, this is probably the best, or probably the example you're going to get most. So I'm going to have, so Stephen here, pretend that's a red or a green tick. I'm not going to go and verify him again, but what I want to do now is merge the 2 records for Sinead, but I want to keep the child one so she doesn't have a login. So what I'm going to do is go into the family section, and I'm going to remove Sinead as a parent, and I'm going to add the 2 Sinead records to the children section. And when I go back here, I can then merge these. So what this will do then is it will merge all of her details. So this one here obviously has the likes of her account status, which is the username. We want to keep the one that doesn't have an account. This is the child record. So make this the primary and merge these across. You can then decide what information gets moved. So whichever one you choose to be the primary one is going to be the one that keeps all the information. But if any of the information in the ready to merge record isn't the same, you can either delete it or you can copy it across. So for example, Sinead has asthma down in her profile. We want that to be moved over to her primary. So I'm going to hit copy to primary, and that'll move it over for us. And I'm going to hit merge. And that's just, sorry, that's just a wee warning to say you're about to merge these members. This is also saying that this will remove the members' user login, so they can no longer basically access the system through that account. So Stephen, the dad, would have to log into his own, hit confirm. And as you will see, there's now only one Sinead. She now has the red X. Her medical information has got moved over. If she had memberships, it would get moved over. And she is now successfully linked to the dad as a parent-child scenario. In terms of merging itself, when you merge records, all the information that is in the account, in the record that you're planning to merge, will be moved over. So there'll be no information lost in terms of membership IDs, memberships, vetting applications, transfer applications. So by merging these, so in the example here, we've got Emma, and I'm going to tick the 2 check boxes, hit member actions, merge, and I'll get this modal. And basically what this will do is it will give you the information side by side so you can quickly see if there's any differences. So what you'll see here is where it's highlighted in red, it will tell you. So for example, Emma is in a family in one record, but not in the other. The additional information is likely that one has an email address, one doesn't, or something along them lines. And also the memberships, that should be highlighted. But what you'll see here is one has a membership, one doesn't. So in the scenario of this, we want to keep the Smith family. It's not a big deal if you decide to not keep the one that has the family link, because as an admin, you can go and relink family members anyway. But previously on Foireann, that was not possible. So what we would do is choose that as the primary. And what I want to do then is merge this record here into Emma. So you can merge up to 5 records at a time. And you obviously just, I suppose from an admin point of view, you want to think of the most logical one to save. So this one, this member is under 18. And you obviously want to keep the family link. This membership will then be moved over. So if I hit merge, again, this just basically tells you what will not. So for example, consent, you will have to refill out some consent. But if I hit confirm, it will move across. You'll see that now the membership is listed here for Emma. And what you'll see here is the communication and the photo consent does reset to being yes or like in the middle. So as a parent, they'd have to go in and just reset that to make sure that they're happy with the preferences for communications and medical consent. So obviously you want to try and reduce as many duplicates as you can on Foireann. However, like I said, it is not always possible. Members may create new accounts every year, or if you use the likes of a third-party system, the likes of Clubforce or Clubs app, and you're using the bulk upload, there is a high risk that you will create duplicates for your members. And sadly, that is just the consequence of using the likes of bulk upload. Reason being is we don't want to end up updating members' records on Foireann and it being incorrect. So for example, if there was them 2 Emma Smiths and for whatever reason there is one number out of their address, so for example, one lives in 18, one lives in 21, we don't want to update the wrong record. So in some cases that might create a duplicate. The system will try and match where possible, but it's just a risk the clubs need to accept when using bulk upload as an option for their members. One of the other things I'm just going to quickly do, I'm just conscious of time, is your member details. So as an admin, you have up here your filters, and I appreciate that there is a lot of filters up here. I'm not going to go through them, but most of the filters are useful in terms of, so for example, show me all the members who have completed vetting. So show me everybody who's vetted, who's not vetted, who's maybe expiring. So for example, I'm going to go vetted. This will pull back everybody that currently has an active vetting application on Foireann. What you can then do is you can export that information. So once you've applied whatever filters you like, you can go to bulk actions, you can go to export filtered members. And what that will do is it will provide you with a downloaded CSV file, which I'm hoping will open up here. Hopefully you can see that file. Let me just say, yeah. So it will provide you with as much information as it can. So for example, I'm not going to go through each one, but if you scroll across, it will show you, for example, what teams they're in, if they're a part of a family, if it's a child, for example, what the guardian's name, phone number, and email address is, so that gets pulled from the parent's record. It'll also show you if they've been Garda vetted, the expiry date of that vetting, if they're being access denied, obviously if you're up north, safeguarding as well as the expiry dates. There's also another one that you can do, which is export detailed member information. So that is actually a separate file. And if we scroll across here, you will see, oh, I actually think it's the same file. Yeah, I think it's the same file. I need to just double check that. I think the first one is meant to include as many columns as it does, but you can also reduce any columns that you don't want to see. But one of the things then you can do is obviously export any of your, you can also export all of your members. And this is good for running individual reports as well on the system. So we do obviously have in the administration section, you've got a report section, and you can run like basically system generated reports. But for most cases for admins, there might be certain criteria you're looking for. So you can go in and filter the table and then export the information you need. One last thing I'm going to cover in terms of your members is assigning and removing admin access. So in the example here, we've got Fergal Smith. Fergal has a green tick. He has a login to Foireann. And if I wanted to remove his access, so these wee icons here indicate if a member has additional permissions. If I tick the checkbox beside his name, go to member actions, update permissions, I can then untick any of the permissions listed here, or I can add different permissions. So I'm going to update Fergal's permissions to be, he's now just a regular member. In terms of the likes of, say, Aoife, and I want to assign Aoife admin permissions. If I go here, you will see that it is grayed out. That is because Aoife doesn't have a login. So in order to assign permissions, they need to have a username to log into Foireann. So for argument's sake, I'm just going to reissue admin permissions to Fergal. So tick the checkbox, member actions, update permissions. And again, you get to choose. The main thing is if you decide to provide, say for example, Fergal is the children's officer of your club, if you just assign vet and admin, it will advise you that you have to assign club admin as well. So the way I look at it is club admin is your baseline, and in order to give any permissions, you have to give them club admin first. Then you can build on that. So for example, if they are the treasurer and need finance access, you can add that on top. Or in the scenario of here where it's the children's officer, you can add club admin as the base, add on your vet and admin as your additional permissions. And when you update, you will see that the icons update, and they now, when they log into Foireann, have additional permissions to do club tasks. I think that covers everything. I appreciate that was a whirlwind of information, but one of the things I'll say here is there is a few ways that you can get help from ourselves. So we have an extensive list of articles on our help centre. We also are doing webinar series right up until the end of March, I believe. And there's also the contact form that you can actually send in queries to our support team. In terms of non-Foireann help, so apologies. We only handle Foireann queries. There is other support teams that handle other systems within the GA, LGFA and Camogie. So for example, your official email addresses if you're locked out of your 365, if you need help with Tubber, if you need access to the disciplinary system. So what I'll do here is I'll post these non-Foireann email addresses into the chat so that you have. We'll also send these out in the email tomorrow, which will also have a link to the recording of this. I'm just conscious of time, but I'm happy to stay on for 5 minutes if anybody has any questions. I'm also just going to post in some links here. Just bear with me 2 seconds. Let's see. Okay, perfect. I'm just going to post these in. So this is going to be a link to the Help Centre. It's going to be a link to our upcoming webinars as well. Let me just check here. So yeah, here's going to be a link to the Help Centre, a link to the upcoming webinars, the non-Foireann related support teams, as well as a link to a feedback form as well in terms of tonight's webinar. So finally, I just want to say Garma Yogit. I hope that was useful. I hope you got something out of it, even if it was just 1 or 2 things you didn't know. But I will stand or I will stay on for even 5 minutes and if you want to post any questions you have into the chat, and if there isn't any questions or if there's questions that I haven't got answered, I'll send them out in the email tomorrow as well. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your Tuesday evening.